What, according to you, would be the future of healthcare in India post-COVID?
Look, India as a country generally lags and then leapfrogs. And I give a classic example of telephony. Till 1995, to get a landline, you had to wait in a queue.
Yes.
And you may take a couple of years before you will get a landline connection, right? I don't remember the figures offhand right now, but this year, I think in August 2020, total number of mobile connections has crossed 1 billion.
Okay.
So out of 130 crores, more than actually the number of connections is more than the population, because a lot of people are carrying two connections.
Yes.
Right. So in 1996, 95, 96, when mobile telephony started, within 3-4 years, India leapfrogged from having a rare telephone connection to having two connections in a pocket. Similarly, in healthcare, while we have been lagging in terms of delivery, in terms of access, in terms of affordability, in terms of timeliness of delivery, I think with this pandemic has taught, it has made the doctors to realize it is not necessary to examine every patient. You can probably, just by the data that is getting to you, you can make conclusions. The other thing, the best thing that this pandemic has actually triggered is people have actually started looking at their health.
Yes, they have become more health conscious, like ever.
Right. So I'll tell you, in 2015, I was involved with a couple of youngsters as entrepreneur.
Okay.
And we were developing a platform which was basically to empower people to look after their health, wellness, and fitness.
Okay.
So primary objective was that. The secondary objective was that if you are not falling in that frame and now you are getting out, so you need doctor's help. So second stage was that now you can seek doctor help from the platform. Whole idea was, let's say somebody is diagnosed with diabetes. Now he doesn't know. A doctor's consultation will not last 3 hours, 4 hours. It will last for maximum half an hour.
Yes.
In half an hour, your life is now going to change because there is no cure for diabetes. You have to manage yourself. Your diet has to change. Your lifestyle has to change. Your exercise has to change. So he comes out confused and sort of dejected how to live my life here on. And most of these diabetics are usually found to be having sweet tooth. So if you are so fond of sweets and suddenly you are told you are not supposed to eat. So deprivation again leads to stress.
Stress.
What is now going to happen is, because of all these things, people will be interested in knowing. They will start managing their calories. They will start looking at balanced diet. They will start looking at not using snacks which have trans fats. Now, this is the outcome of this pandemic. The health consciousness has increased. And that platform we had to ultimately shut down because people were not willing to pay for anything which guides them for health and wellness. We approached a lot of corporates. We told them that we will increase your productivity by keeping your people healthy.
Definitely.
And they would all want freebies. So we kept on giving freebies so that we can start the business with them. And ultimately, at the end of 6 months struggle, they will say, well, we don't have budget. You are paying insurance for hospitalization of your employees and their families, but you're not willing to pay for keeping them healthy. If he is not coming for the job for 3 days in a month, so it's a lost productivity because it's not that he is only contributing, his team is also contributing, and his absence, the team will also be lagging behind. Definitely. So one is that this pandemic has thrown open people's focus towards their health, wellness, and fitness. That is number one. Two, because the access to non-COVID patient in the hospital system today is very, very difficult. All the hospitals, especially in Delhi and Mumbai, all the beds are filled with the COVID patients. So where do the non-COVID patients go? The only way is you manage your disease. Yes. Now, these are the two concepts that when we started Fortis, I was the founding team member. Okay. And our focus was that besides the curative part, we will be actually driving this part of it. Okay. And we failed despite pushing in a lot of resources in that effort. People were just not coming forward. Once you have been diagnosed hypertension, your diabetes, or you had a stroke, you have to be now maintaining your lifestyle in a very different way. People who are not willing. The moment they will get to a stage where they are independent, they will forget everything.
Yes.
Their diet pattern will revert to what they were eating earlier.
True.
Their exercise will go for a toss, and everything will come back. And within a year or so, they will come back with a second attack. So now people have started realizing that if you don't manage, you will need hospitalization. The hospital bed is not available, so better take care of yourself. So this is the second thing. Third is the doctor, the provider's barrier to use the technology tools has, I would say, I won't say it has gone out, it has reduced. And with the experience of last 8-9 months, probably a lot of them will like to continue, especially the senior ones, because the seniors can't expose themselves beyond a point. Fourthly, the way the technology is evolving and the way artificial intelligence has already started contributing. To my mind, both machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, deep learning, all these things are going to sort of contribute to extension of healthcare systems beyond the domains of physical infrastructure. And if I'm lucky, maybe I may be able to witness in my lifetime tele-immersion. Now, we are already up to AR and VR have already arrived. They are commercially not viable at this point in time for the hospitals to use, but in experimental surgeries, they have been used. The next level to AR and VR is tele-immersion, which requires a very expensive infrastructure. You need holographic chambers and all. The research has been going on for the last 60, 70 years in University of Pennsylvania, and they have done something concrete on that. I'm told France also has probably dedicated one center for tele-immersion research. And what tele-immersion happens is, I may be sitting in Delhi, you are operating in, let's say, Boston, you are stuck in a case. So in the tele-immersion scenario, I would be literally guiding your hands to do the next steps of the surgery without the touch and feel. So that is basically a three-dimensional image transfer. The basic requirement is that you require minimum speed of 2 Gbps transmission speed of data before that kind of a thing can be attempted. But imagine if that happens. So you have a paucity of, let's say, a neurosurgeon who can do aneurysms, because aneurysms are very notorious. They rupture and patient usually dies. And you have a guy sitting in, say, let's say, London, and you have a patient, let's say, Palakkad in Kerala. So he can guide the surgeon out there, literally holding his hands, do the procedure. So how many lives you will save, what the quality of life you will create.
That would be commendable.
That is commendable, and that you can't imagine that. So productivity will increase, which ultimately will lead to individual prosperities and the growth of the country. So healthcare is going to play. Health and education are two pillars on which any society can progress.
Definitely.
So this pandemic probably has, for the first time, triggered the government of India in this country to start focusing on health. For telemedicine, this EMR and all, in 2010, a health ministry made a committee in joint effort with the Ministry of Electronics. I was part of the task force. We were given 24 months to create standards for electronic medical record and telemedicine platform. We submitted them in 18 months. Then we were asked to do a sensitization workshop of all stakeholders from across the country. We did that also. And for 8 years, nothing was done on that. But this pandemic brought out those books, those papers, the regulatory framework came out, the guiding rules came out, and the controversy. Last year in Mumbai, a gynecologist was suspended from her practice and removed from the medical register for giving a teleconsultation.
But now it has been legalized.
Now it is legalized.
Yes.
There are still confusions, there are still overlaps, still, I would say, thought barriers still are there. But overall, I think what we couldn't achieve in 25 years has happened probably in 6-7 months.
Definitely.
And in 2007, President Kalam was retiring. He had given a parting gift to African countries. 55 African countries were given assurance by Dr. Kalam that we will provide you telemedicine services. And we did Telecommunication India Limited was the implementing agency. They didn't have the resources. They tied up with Fortis, and I was leading that project. And we were providing, the government of India provided at that time the satellite services free to us.
Okay.
And we were giving telemedicine services to those 55 African countries.
Oh, wow.
The project went on for 2-3 years, and then the secretary in the government changed, the TCIL, CMD changed, and they had no interest on that. So they just stopped it. Sorry. So this is how things have changed, and I think they have changed for better. Let's hope this progress continues and technology plays a more and more facilitating role rather than invading role. You see, I don't wear a watch, I wear a tracker, right? And the moment I get up in the morning, I wear this tracker. My target is minimum 15,000 steps a day.
Okay.
Right? I had gone up to even 18, 19,000, but then I realized it's too much. You can't sustain it for long. And you have to just not walk, but also do some exercises also. So I have reduced it to now 15K and gradually adding few exercises so that the body can remain active.
Yes.
So this is the kind of focus this pandemic has brought back.
Definitely. So you were listed in Pride of Rajasthan for your contribution in health and social sector, despite the fact that you neither belonged to Rajasthan nor studied there, and have been awarded Vishish Chikitsa Ratan Award by Delhi Medical Association on Doctors' Day for contribution towards the medical and social arena. So how has the experiences been?
Well, Rajasthan was, though my wife comes from Rajasthan,
Okay.
and this Rajasthan Patrika group was making a coffee table book on people who have contributed to the progress of Rajasthan.
Okay.
So their criteria was that either you are born and brought up here in Rajasthan, or you have studied in Rajasthan and then settled out here.
Okay.
So the chief editor reached out to me. So I said, I'm not from Rajasthan, and I have never studied here, and I am not going to settle down here. I have come here because of assignment. So the moment this hospital is ready and stable, I will go back to Delhi. So he insisted, and I refused. I said, yeah, I don't fulfill your criteria. I will not give any interview. I don't know what he managed. He actually dug out everything about me. He researched around me. He met people at my corporate office. He met people, some relatives. He could find that they are in Jaipur, and he just built it. So later on, when I came to know he has already done it, so I asked him why. So he said, I overheard your conversation with the chief minister on the inaugural day. The chief minister of Rajasthan was Vasundhara Raje. She inaugurated the Fortis Escorts Hospital in Jaipur. And we were showing her the live cath procedure going on at that point in time.
Okay.
So Rajasthan has a different structure in health ministry. They have a secretary for medical education separately from secretary health.
Okay.
So she asked me why the secretary medical education is not here. So I said, madam, you know, he's a reclusive person. He doesn't come to on any invitation. And I didn't press because I know his nature. No, call him here. And you tell me, what this fancy infrastructure, all this equipment, you guys only bring this? I said, no, this is the need of the day. So I said, can you justify that to me? So I just gave her a very simple explanation. I said, look, I'll give you a very small example. I said, SMS Medical College, Jaipur is an iconic institution. I said, lekin jo DM cardiology comes out from that place and he joins our hospital tomorrow. I said, we require at least 12 to 18 months to train him to acquire the skills that he can do the procedure independently. I said, after this much of study, half the times these boys and girls have only seen these equipments in the textbooks.
Definitely. Yes. That's
So
a huge gap.
Yeah. So I said, there is a huge gap. So she said, what should be done? I said, every medical college should have all this kind of equipment and they should be skill set to train these youngsters. So she said, after this inaugural function and between the functions ended and the lunch starts, give me on a piece of paper what all equipment should be there in the medical college in terms of teaching and training. So I gave her that list for all the 7, 8 medical colleges in government sector in Rajasthan.
Okay.
And believe you me, within 48 hours, the Secretary of Medical Education was asked to make a proposal for sanction.
Okay.
It was sanctioned and it was later on implemented.
That's great.
So that was one part. Second was, she asked me how you are contributing to the welfare of the people. So I said, look, we are not an industry. We are basically a service provider. So one is that we are treating 10% patients free. That is one part. Second is, I said, I can do something else for you. So what's that? So I said, I have been meeting your Secretary of Women and Child Welfare, but she is not allowing me to give any time. She is not coming forward to discuss freely. I have a proposal. I said, Anganwadi workers, they go out, Asha workers go out and deal with the rural population, and they are the first line of contact for pregnant women and small kids.
Yes.
So I said, we will train them and empower them to take decisions there and then and communicate for reconfirmation if required, and that will improve the efficiency. So in the start, we will adopt 5 Anganwadi centers. You tell me which 5 you want us to adopt. I said, please do understand we have limited resources. So don't give me something 200 kilometers away from here because I won't be able to send the doctor. We are the hospital. We trained them, and when everything was ready, the secretaries were sitting there for seeing the presentation. The presentation, PowerPoint presentation, was made by those Asha workers who didn't know ABC of English.
Oh wow,
they only knew Hindi and Rajasthani. They could understand thank you, sorry from English. Okay. They made the entire PowerPoint presentation. We helped them in making the presentation. They used graphics. I said, don't worry, use graphics and speak in your language in front of all the secretaries. Okay. Then the Secretary Medical Education, Secretary Health, and the Secretary Women and Child Welfare asked me, डॉक्टर साहब ये तो पढ़े लिखे लोग नहीं है, इन्होंने बनाया. मैंने कहा ये पावर पॉइंट भी इन्होंने बनाया है, ये ग्राफिक्स भी इन्होंने चूज किए हैं, हमने सिर्फ इनको इतनी हेल्प करी है कि पावर पॉइंट स्लाइड में इनको डाला कैसे जाता है, दैट्स इट. और मैंने कहा ये जो कुछ बोल रहे हैं वो हमने टेक्स्ट इनको कुछ बना के नहीं दिया है, जो कुछ इन्होंने सीखा है उसके हिसाब से ये कर रहे हैं. दे आर डूइंग अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट. एंड आई सेड नाउ यू सी इन 6 months व्हाट दे विल डिलीवर. सो फॉर दोस थिंग्स राजस्थान पत्रिका, which came out with a coffee book, actually listed me. So I was probably the sole exception who was a non-Rajasthani and still listed in Pride of Rajasthan. And as far as DMA is concerned, since I have basically lived in my life in Delhi, so the entire circle knows what I do and what I don't do. And including for the welfare of the doctors, whichever hospital I commanded, I used to make sure that any doctor colleague coming with, even with his family member, should be given a separate treatment. We should go all over to, because at times every doctor also needs doctor's help.
Yes.
So in recognition of that, and I had the privilege on being honored on the day when a legend like Professor Padmavati was being honored, and we were sitting together. She was like grandmother to us. She died only recently post-COVID. Till now, she was actually seeing patients, and she was going for swimming every day, even at the age of 90. I think she was 100 plus. So these are the kind of things, and this is one profession which gives you a lot of satisfaction. You get soul satisfaction.
Definitely.
So you help somebody. You are partly into this, so you must be fully aware.
Yes, yes.
Although there are a lot of challenges, but yet.
Yes, things are changing towards the positive directions. But I think 2 things what I clearly understood was, one is like from the medical professional side, like from the healthcare professionals, these doctors, paramedic staffs, nurses, I don't know how they perceive technology. Do they think that it is intruding, or do they think that it is invading or into their boundaries? What is like their thought? How do they take it? Because I think there is little resistance, and they are not open to all these things. Some of them, exactly like some of the doctors.
This is largely a perception. To some extent, it is a fact. And I'll tell you, I led the first real-time online computerization of a hospital management in this country, way back in '88, right? So when we were implementing the first 2-3 modules, there were a lot of apprehensions in the mind of doctors. So we had an internal journal which used to go out every month. So I wrote the lead article in that, and I gave examples how you are already using the technology. I said, when you go to your ICUs and CCUs, you are using the technology.
Yeah, the parameters, what these
Monitor shows some variation.
Yes.
You do the intervention.
Yes.
You record the intervention in that monitor in the system itself. So that's it. I said, you are already using the technology. Why are you afraid? Similarly, for the surgeon colleagues, I told them, you are doing, what are you doing with endoscopic surgery? You are recording everything.
Yes.
You are reviewing after that. What is that? It is the use of technology. So, see, basically, the reason for reluctance, or I would say a delayed acceptance, is there is a fundamental principle in healthcare, in medicine. Please do no harm. You cannot treat every patient. And it is not necessary with the best of the diagnosis and best of the treatment, the patient may improve. So the big dictum is, if you can't help, don't harm. So doctors are scared because of that. So any new thing which will come, they would like somebody else has tried or not. Now I'm mentoring a health tech startup, which is doing a lot of work on the remote healthcare monitoring, which will ultimately lead to connected care. Now these boys, when they approach me and said, sir, आपका इतना contact है, इतना network है, हमको कुछ hospitals में entry दिलाओ. मैंने कहा, भी देखो ऐसा है, पहले तो मेरे को demo दो, और मैं demo तुम्हारे हिसाब से नहीं लूँगा. I will create a demo by myself. You do that. So they did that successfully, and I was impressed. Then I said, look, unless you have clinical validation and you have impact studies, I said, right now I'm trying to help you out, so I'm talking from your side. But the moment I'm sitting in the chair of the healthcare provider, you come to me and I will say, give me the proof that it helps. It reduces the process. It enhances the patient outcome. I said, unless I get these 3 things, I will not be interested, even if you say I can try it for free. So they have still not gathered that thought. They're still thinking that we can manage without that. And they did a webinar and again invited me to deliver the keynote. Again, I repeated the same thing. Please do clinical validation and impact studies. Go with those studies to the next hospital and show them, this is what we did for 3 months. This is how it helped that particular hospital. And then you will probably get the business forward. They're still contemplating whether to do or not do. That is one reason the healthcare providers are a bit reluctant or hesitant to adopt any new technology immediately.
So overall, thank you so much, Dr. Praneet, for coming to Medicircle and sharing your insightful views with us. We are really, really privileged to have a personality like you, because you have seen so many generations, and also the way you treated your patients means the devotion that even at 2 o'clock at the night you were attending and caring for the patients. I think this is a really much needed attribute which has to be there in all the healthcare professionals. So again,
no, this is not only me. Every doctor does that. For a doctor, the night sleep. That is the reason my kids didn't become a doctor. They had never seen their parents. Yeah, they had never seen their parents sleep at night for 6 hours. Okay. My wife is a professor of anesthesiology and head of the department. Okay. So she used to be on call. So many times we were living in the hospital campus, and my parents used to live in other part of the city where the madam's hospital was there. So we used to dump the kids in the car, and I will drop her to the hospital and then go to my parents' place and sleep there, and then pick her up in the morning and go back because the kids have to go to school. So this is not that I did something extra. Well, few doctors have little more initiative and all, but it is the life of every doctor. And thank you so much for inviting me to share my experiences. I wish these experiences can help the youngsters today to take a leaf and maybe multiply that forward.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.